Welcome back, everybody, into Bill's Chat. I am Josh McCarty. With me tonight, as always, is Luka. Luka, the Bills Texans game is now 4 days in the rearview mirror. And for this episode, we are going to really talk about what the playoffs look like for the Bills. We're not going to talk about Bills Texans. We're not going to recap that game. I feel like people are kind of ready to move on from that. What does the playoff field look like? Should we be focused on the wild card? What happened in the AFC today? And just how murky is the Bills' path to the postseason? That is a long way to say. How are you doing tonight, Luka?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I think I find it interesting being days removed from that loss and sitting here watching the rest of the NFL in the limited capacity I did. Full transparency for anyone that's not aware. I have a lot of personal things going on in all positive manners that has divided my attention a little bit more away from everything else that it normally has its attention to, or I am attentive to. But I've still caught about a good chunk of the slate during the day. And I will just say there's just no perfect team in the league this year. There's no runaway. The lesson, spoiler alert. No, I don't want to give a full lesson recap. Is 1.5 minutes into this thing, but there is no runaway to this league. And even those giants, like in the NFC with the Eagles, it felt like, they choked away a 21-point lead to Dallas with the 32. I think Dallas is the 32nd ranked defense, or at least they were going into it. It's either them or the Bengals, of course, which then, of course, going to the Bengals, you watch the Patriots play the Bengals. And they're 40-year-old Joe Flacco on a game-winning drive away from losing the game. And Joe Flacco, mind you, gets to positive territory on the field in that drive. It's amazing how you look at the Bills' loss on Thursday night and you can feel doom and gloom, understandably. There's a lot of issues with what came from that game. But then you watch everything else around the league, and it almost is like a fresh reminder of, look, at least we have Josh Allen to get us out of bad times more than not. And or not any team out there is an absolute world beater. We're recording right now. The Rams are absolutely dominating the Bucs at the moment. But I even made a comment to you when you had mentioned that this thing already feels like it's a runaway. And it's like, we just saw what happened in Dallas. I don't even know now. The way the league has been, especially this week, I truly don't know, if it's as bad as it seems. But the problem is, of course, in a Bills' sense, is there's a lot of holes that you just don't know where the answers are. But I will just say, it just takes one magical run, one moment to truly spark a run for anyone, for that matter. That there's still, as the cliche is, Josh, a lot of football left to be played in this NFL season. That anything can still happen for the Bills, both in a positive and negative light. But on this football Sunday, as we're recording this, I feel pretty good.
I think there are complete teams in the league. My thing is the teams with the cheat code quarterbacks. And right now, I would say that is Lamar, Allen, Burrow, who's not even back yet. I only count one team as being a complete team that has a cheat code quarterback, and that would be the team we're watching on Sunday Night Football, Matt Stafford. I think they are a complete team. The Bills would not have to worry about the Rams until the Super Bowl. Otherwise, I think the most complete teams are still kind of like you have to get your voice to a certain level when you talk about them. Like, man, I love the Seahawks. Well, can you see him win in the Super Bowl? Sam Darnold, I don't know. Daniel Jones, maybe. They've been more good than bad this year, but it's just when the rubber hits the road and you're talking about playoff football, everything on the line, you need a drive for your season. Are you really going to pick the Daniel Jones team over the Lamar Jackson team or the Patrick Mahomes team or the Josh Allen team? And that's kind of where we're at. And that's what we're alluding to. Now, what Luka and I are going to do is talk about the Bills' path to the playoffs. But I think, and let's assume everybody listening knows the results, but the big results from Sunday, quickly, the Patriots did beat the Bengals. The Chiefs held on and beat the Colts, who kind of blew a double-digit lead and lost in overtime. The Ravens beat the Jets, which ultimately gave them first place for now in the AFC North because the Steelers lost a game in Chicago, which apparently they have some massive losing streak in Chicago that I was unaware of.
Yeah, they're now, just fun fact, now 1-15 lifetime in Chicago, I believe.
Just one of those random things that makes no sense. It might be right up there with Josh Allen being 0-4 in Houston because it's not like he's played a great Houston team ever. But those are the big ones. I think the simplified conversation is if the Bills truly are locked into looking at the wild card path, it's more crowded than I think most Bills fans would have wanted it to be. That's the bad news. But I don't know that one, you have to be locked into the wild card. But it just, when you start looking at that Patriots schedule, it gets tough. Before we get into the paths and how it looks, I just want to ask you right off the top, Luka, how much of your thought process when it comes to the Bills still has to do with winning the AFC East?
As little as it has ever been. That doesn't mean it's completely gone, but I think we said it in the post-game reaction well, and kind of just have broken it down well enough. If you don't have the vibes already that the Bills, for one, are a roller coaster and are kind of that wild card feel of a team, it's probably good to start letting that sit in better sooner rather than later. But then also with that, the Patriots getting through the Bengals, when you look at, because of course you have to get through them after winning that game against the Bengals, there's not enough speed bumps for them that you could realistically expect. And that's ultimately where it can fall short. Let's just assume, and it's not safe to assume at all for the Bills, that the Bills win out. You look at it, the Patriots have to now lose 3 additional games as Tez Johnson catches a nice ball.
One of which would be the Bills, but
right, one would have to be the Bills. But then it's like they do have a difficult road game at the Ravens. A lot of R's in there, sorry. And then from there, it's like a Dolphins matchup is in there. The Jets are in there. Like, are you expecting this Patriots team to lose to those teams? No. The simple answer is no. They should be considered respectfully as sizable favorites in those games. That they deserve that. They have looked to be that part for the most part, that you would expect that to be the case. So they have to trip up elsewhere at that moment in time. And that also goes under the assumption that the Bills win out. And this doesn't feel like a team that will be able to win out. Although the road is not the most difficult either. You still have that Patriots game on the road. You still have the Eagles at home week 17, which, all things considered, not that it truly matters, nor do I think a team would rest players in week 17 these times. The loss for the Eagles at Dallas definitely dampens the chances of that occurring for them, hopefully getting the 1 seed and that game not mattering to them in week 17 because it's an out of conference game. But you still have those games. The Bengals are coming to town. If Burrow plays that, there's enough of understandable bumps in the road for the Bills that it's minimal at best that the realistic path for the Bills is going to be as a division winner. I mean, and unfortunately for what it feels like, this team that doesn't perform at its absolute best on the road, that is the reality for, making a run, is they're going to have to do that if and when they make the postseason this season.
So I'm with you. I'm not thinking about the AFC East. I am thinking they need to win that New England game really for the wild card purposes. But some things happened today that did go the Bills' way. It's funny. There's a lot of people that, for whatever reason, wanted Pittsburgh to win today, like, because somehow they'd be less motivated to win next week. But like, now you have to almost reverse how you're looking at some of these things. The Patriots beating the Bengals, you could argue, is a good result for the Bills. Now, I understand if the Patriots had lost that game, now it's a Bills win out, Patriots lose to the Ravens, Bills win AFC East. That scenario is off the table. So I get it's kind of a double-edged sword. But the Bengals getting another loss, one, to what Luka was talking about off the air with me, probably lessens the chances of Joe Burrow playing in that Bills game. But also just kind of takes another team out of the mix where the Bengals, even if Joe Burrow comes back and gets super hot, their only path is going to be the AFC North. They have too many losses to impact this wild card. I think, despite the fact that Jacksonville had a game that they won today, they probably didn't necessarily deserve to win, but they won. I think that there's a lot of teams that are bunched up with the Bills right now. When you look at it, like I have the standings in front of me. Buffalo 7-4. The Chargers are 7-4. The Chiefs are 6-5. Chargers were off this week. Jacksonville 7-4. Baltimore / Pittsburgh 6-5. Those are the teams that you really have to look at. Well, Buffalo has a head-to-head win over Kansas City. That's going to help. They're going to have a head-to-head win over Baltimore, although I would bet everything I own on Baltimore winning the division. And to me, Luka, that puts such an emphasis on next week's game.
Yeah.
I haven't let myself yet get down the path of, will the Bills miss the playoffs? I don't want to say like I've flirted with it. It's like right now, it's like the girl on the other side of the room that I haven't worked up the courage to go talk to yet, but I've noticed her. Like I'm aware of her presence, but I don't know anything about her. I'm aware that it's not as simple as, well, you blew the division, but you'll make it as a wild card. I'm aware that it's more crowded. If the Bills were to lose this game to Pittsburgh next week, I think it starts to become a real scary conversation because now you're talking about a scenario, Luka, where the Bills have to win in Foxborough or have to beat the Eagles. And the way we've seen these Bills look, that's not necessarily a situation I'd want to sign up for. Are you like me where now Pittsburgh is almost must-win territory?
Pittsburgh is a swing game, and that is the swing, right? If the Bills were to go into Pittsburgh 4:00, take care of business, and get the win that they need to out of that game, I truly believe then that it is a realistic expectation for this team to finish with 11 wins, which I believe is an absolute key number when it comes to the wild card race in the AFC. If they were to lose it, as you said, you then to get to 11 wins would have to win either that Patriots game or the Eagles game. Now they could absolutely win one but not both of those games. I just think it would also be safe to assume that it's far from likely as well. Like, not that it's going to be difficult, but it's at best a coin toss with the Patriots, if not a slight nod either direction. And then with the Eagles, I mean, right now you have no idea what you're going to get, but of course, ceiling of that team is capable of absolutely blowing the doors off the Bills if they can get their running attack going, even without Lane Johnson available to them. So there's those two games. Let's just mentally chalk off as losses. So from there, let's also set aside the Steelers game. Your other three games are home to the Bengals, at the Browns, home to the Jets to close out the season. I'd like to believe Bengals, even with Joe Burrow, I'm going to guess that Joe Burrow wouldn't be at a true 100%, of course. I would like to believe that this team is capable of winning that one. That, and then the Browns and Jets games, I mean, you can't, as great as that Browns defense is, and Myles Garrett's going to probably already have broken the sack record by the time that game shows up. If it's Shadur, if it's Dylan Gabriel, I don't give, if it's the reincarnation of Bernie Kosar in his prime, you can't be losing that game. And so that Steelers game, by the way, if you're doing the math here, as the Bills are 7-4, that Steelers game goes from 10-7 if you win it, or if you lose it, to winning it in 11-6. You hit that 11 number, you move on with your life. It's, for what it's worth, when you look at the Jags, when you look at the Chargers, you look, I see you just saw that. Yeah. Stafford's just absolutely dialed right now. You look at the Jags, you look at the Chargers, and you look at the Chiefs. Their schedules feel like projecting them all around that 10-11 win mark. So if the 11 mark is the top part of that projection. You hit that 11 wins, as you also referred to. You have the head-to-head already in your pocket with Kansas City. You mentioned the Ravens one's already in the back pocket. I'm also with you. I have many of reasons that I financially want to see the Ravens actually pull it out, as I did dip into that pool numerous times during the season. And like from there, if you think the Steelers are going to be part of that head-to-head conversation, you take care of this for one. But then also I talked about just the game in itself and the win and the value of getting that potential 11 mark. You can even afford to lose, not that you want to, but both the Patriots and Eagles games to get to 11 wins, assuming you can take care of the riffraff that surrounds it otherwise. So it's a vital swing game. I come just ever so slightly short of a must win, only because at the end of the day, you can still beat the Patriots. You can still beat the Eagles. Like, it's not an absolute do or die, but I would never argue with anyone that believes it to be a must win, nor do I think it's irrational to view it that way due to all the reasons I just laid out.
I am with you. I think 11 is the magic number. If you get to 11, considering you have wins over Kansas City, I do think that would come with a win over either Pittsburgh. That's really it as far as teams in their way. 11, I think even if you get to 11 and you don't win the Pittsburgh game, I think you're home free. You can't go 3-3 to finish out the season. And, I winced whenever you said Browns, because my first thought is Myles Garrett, and holy cow, is he a scary force. But you're right. And I realize we're talking about a team that just lost to Davis Mills 4 days ago when he completed like 2 passes in his first 10 attempts. But you cannot lose to Shedeur Sanders. The Bills have 6 games left. They have to win 4 of them, and 2 of them are going to be against rookie Shedeur Sanders and washed up Tyrod Taylor. Like, that's where we're at. And then you're talking about Drake May, an injured Aaron Rodgers, and then Jalen Hurts. And what else? Anyway, the other one will come to me in a second. But I get a lot of pushback from folks on Twitter, which is where we do a lot of our interaction, about it doesn't matter if you make it. It doesn't matter. I put this question out on Twitter, and I want to get your reaction to this. If you had some like genie that came down and said, Luka, if the Bills miss the playoffs, Pagula is going to make massive changes. And, you can kind of interpret that however you want, but we assume that probably means at least one of McDermott and Bean, if not both. Or, so he's going to make massive changes. Would you rather sign up for missing the playoffs or making it as a wild card?
Feels like a trap. It just feels like a trap question. No, I'm messing with you.
It does feel like a trap question.
Yeah.
My answer is pretty obvious. I think my answer is pretty easy, but I think that the crowd was pretty split.
I go with yes. And I will say that the only other reason I go with yes is I think with that change also is the added thing of, well, Bean didn't want to pull the trigger on our first round going bye-bye. So at least we have the greatest first round pick we've had in the order since Ed Oliver was drafted in 2019. So there would be that one little added caveat that then with whatever changes come, you have that in your back pocket to do with whatever it is, and is an opportunity in the draft or even to utilize that to acquire something else to get something as best as they've been able to with a first round draft pick. So I would just say that honestly, that's what tips the scale for me, only because not only would you have that change that you're saying is imminent with that situation, but you also are gaining what it is in assets as well around that situation. Right. Yeah. Like, you missed the wild card. You're guaranteed the best pick you've had since after Josh Allen's rookie season. And that's what you got, Ed Oliver, and a top 10 pick, so on and so forth. So I think I welcome that in a theoretical space. And I like to make sure I put the theoretical space on it, because there's just the part of me that is unwilling to absolutely accept Josh Allen on a team not making the playoffs and having a chance to make a run. Josh Allen is good enough to me as a football fan, not as a Bills fan, anything. Josh Allen is an individual I want to see in a playoff race and try to make a run. It is good for football. It is enjoyable. And this is something I would like to see. It has that feeling, not even nearly as good, but it has that feeling of, as a football fan, Josh, remember when Mahomes finally had to go on the road and do it on the road?
Boy, do I.
Yeah, no, but it was intriguing. It's something we had never
Yeah.
experienced before. And it's like, okay, finally prove to us you can do it in a different way. And I feel like with Josh Allen, we haven't seen him as a wild card since his rookie, or not his rookie, his second season.
Right.
And it's one of those things where he's far greater and better than he was then. This team isn't nearly as good as it was then around him, but what is he capable of doing even in that setting on the road in Baltimore or on the road in Jacksonville if some magical collapse happens with the Colts and the Jags win that division or whatever happens, right? Like, how good is Josh Allen, even with all of this around him, getting into the wild card and seeing what he can do and make happen? I want to see that as a football fan. And I also, just as a Bills fan, I want to crack at it. Like, I want a shot at it. You've seen what can happen. And then also, for what it's worth, you've seen what can happen with losing starting to set in at an organizational level with other teams locally.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to dip my foot into the whole, like, I'll take losses and accept them, because that can become very, very toxic. And it's no, give me, as a realistic person, give me a playoff, give me a shot at the title, especially with Josh Allen at the helm. But from a theoretical level, I don't hate the thing. If you can guarantee, massive change, and you also have the best picks you've had since 2019 in there, yes, I can understand how that could be very advantageous.
So I'm with you. I hear you. And I hear anybody that would say, sign me up for getting rid of Bean and McDermott. And I certainly think those guys are under the microscope right now. I would also sign up for make the playoffs and see what happens. Because if you don't make the playoffs when you have Josh Allen in his prime, it feels like such a wasted opportunity. At least if you make it with a roster that we all admit is flawed, you give yourself that chance. You give yourself a fighting chance. And I want everybody to think about it from this perspective. Let's imagine, if you will, for a second, that the Bills are not in the situation they're in. Imagine that they are fighting for a division title, like they are where the Patriots are at. And we're sitting here wondering, are they going to win the 1 seed or the 2 seed? Think about the teams that could be coming to Buffalo and think about how you would rank them. It'd be Chiefs, it'd be, Steelers, it'd be Ravens, and it'd be potentially Bengals with Joe Burrow. And every time you start thinking about it, it's like, I don't want to touch the Chiefs, they have Mahomes. I don't want to touch the Ravens, they got Lamar. I don't want to touch the Bengals, they have Burrow. Yeah, the Colts may have a better all-around roster than the Chiefs or the Bengals, but they don't have that guy that scares you at quarterback. I think this is where you get really crazy. I think you could make the argument that the Bills losing to the Texans and now kind of falling back into that like 5 to 7 range in the AFC is actually potentially going to really help them out in the playoff seeding. I have been thinking all along, the worst case scenario for the Bills, the Chiefs, whoever, is to be the highest wild card team, because I think that team is destined to go to Baltimore. Now, Baltimore has not looked great even since Lamar has come back. They struggled today to move the ball on the Jets. They struggled last week in Cleveland. We all kind of just said, Cleveland's defense is great. But I still respect the fact that that's Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP, and Derrick Henry, and they have the weapons, and they have good names on defense. If you make it as a wild card, beggars can't be choosers. But boy, drawing a chip to Baltimore seems like such a worst case scenario. Now, if you're the Bills and say you're the 5 seed or the 6 seed, and now you're going to Indy or you're going to New England, holy cow. I think the Bills are probably favored in both of those games. just because the way the odds makers look. Folks, I already looked. Next week, the Bills are 4.5-point favorites in Pittsburgh. And I know people are thinking like, oh my God, have they seen the Pittsburgh defense? Have they seen what TJ Watt's capable of? He broke JJ Watt's all-time sack record today. It doesn't matter. It's a quarterback league. And the Bills have Josh Allen and the Steelers have a shell of Aaron Rodgers. The Bills have Josh Allen. The Colts have Daniel Jones. The Bills have Josh Allen. The Patriots will have Drake May making his first playoff spot. Josh Allen will not be an underdog in that game. So that doesn't have to mean the Bills are going to win, but sign me up for a scenario, Luka, where you are a 5, 6, or 7 seed. You're going to New England or Indy in the first round. And then if you win, you're going to probably Denver in the second round, as opposed to running into Baltimore, Kansas City, teams like that. So I don't think this has to be a bad thing. Now, we all know the warts on this team. We all know that they couldn't stop Davis Mills at times last week. They couldn't stop Woody Marks at time last week. They couldn't get pressure on the worst offensive line in football. If none of that changes, none of this matters, because whoever they go against will beat them. But assuming that the Bills can get to a point where they're more competitive, I do think 3 road games has a chance to be a softer landing spot than if you were to win a division title and all of a sudden here comes Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs as a wild card team. So, you can spin yourself any certain different way, but I don't think falling back into the 5, 6, 7 range has to be a bad thing at all for these Bills with the way the AFC is looking.
Take yourself back to before week 1 and you tell yourself, hey, Bills are going to be a wild card team, but the path to the Super Bowl, if they were to make that run, would be through Gillette, then through Mile High. And then after all of that, Josh, it could be through Lucas Oil. It could be, shit, depending on how things go and who's set where. You could even be hosting the AFC Championship game if you say the Bills are the 5 and the Chiefs are the 7. Yeah. Or depending on whatever happens, or vice versa for that matter. You would honestly, in a sick way, be okay with that, because it tells you, one, how random this year has been compared to where we thought it would be come season start to where it is now. And 2, as you said, when you think of teams, the first thing you think of anywhere across the board is quarterback. And it's like, okay, Josh Allen versus, and let's go with Colts, because honestly, there's a weird part of me that says if the Bills are, say, the 6th seed, it would be at Indy. So I'm just going to go with that.
And I kind of hate that matchup for us, but I'm just going to have to talk myself into it.
Right. Look, you take away the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We're getting the doors blown off. Like there's no question about it. Jonathan Taylor, that run game. The receivers are sneaky nice there.
Sauce Gardner and Ward.
Sauce. Yeah. Although Ward let up a pass today to basically lose that you just can't do, but he's still working his way back from injury. It's not crazy. There's so much to like about that. DeForest Buckner for them should be back. He's a dominant threat in the inside. There's all that, but it's Josh Allen and Daniel Jones. That's push comes to shove. Who do you want to be in your corner, Josh Allen or Daniel Jones? You want Josh Allen. You put him in a controlled environment of Lucas Oil Stadium. You want Josh Allen or Daniel Jones? You're going to get the absolute best out of Josh Allen. You're going to get fully unleashed Josh Allen. There's no tomorrow Josh Allen. That's a scary, scary proposition for any team to go up against. And then say they get through that by some miracle because Josh Allen puts on that hero cape that we know he has, and you're going to Arrowhead. And again, scary defense.
How are we going to Arrowhead?
Sorry. Mile High. I'm thinking Denver, but in my head I said Arrowhead. My bad. Mile High.
I had PTSD. Wait, why?
You're going to Mile High. Well, AFC West, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I digress. That's a scary defense, and that offense can do some things, although not the running game you would expect once again. But then it's Josh Allen versus Bo Nix. And we saw what that was last year in our house. It truly is. And it's not a situation where you just believe that as long as you get in, all of a sudden it's this great Bills team again. No, there's still the team we have seen. But when you have 17, when you have that guy, anything is possible. Magical runs can happen on the shoulders of one individual in the playoffs. We've seen it in the past so many times. Teams absolutely win championships a vast majority of the times, but you still see those things where special players come up with special moments time and time again to make big runs in all sports, mind you. It happens everywhere. It is what makes sports beautiful. I mean, and like, for what it's worth, you have it just across sports, just to remind people, like, an 8 seed in the NHL on the back of a hot goaltender can win the Stanley Cup. And that is a longer, tougher path to win a playoff, because it's not just one-offs. You got to win series after series, and you're always the lesser team. And on the back of a hot goalie, you can win. He was an out-of-the-world goalie, it turns out, and he's a Hall of Famer, but that was the first time he really made that big run. Josh Allen is an all-world talent. If he can just get hot at the right time, magic can happen. It's not a for sure thing, but as long as that's not at Arrowhead, that, this go around, not at Baltimore, and you're doing other things, you have to like your chances compared to the alternative. Like, I to get into the dance is everything. And then from there, see what happens, run it. Let's go. If let's say Kansas City misses the playoffs, Josh, it's safe to assume that you have the best quarterback in the dance. You can maybe, and I'm talking both conferences, you can obviously give it to potentially MVP Matt Stafford right now, just for the current situation. But if you were any NFL exec and you're like, hey, you can have Josh Allen or Matt Stafford, it's a very difficult debate. But I mean, Josh Allen's got a little bit more gear to lean on, and he can do a couple things that Matt Stafford definitely cannot anymore. That it's like, you have the best shot caller in the dance. Now go try to make magic happen. That's a wonderful thing to have just by slipping into it.
So when you look at some of these wild card teams, you have the Chargers, you have who do I want to look at? The Texans. You have we're gonna throw the Colts and the Jags in there because they're close enough in the standings, and the Chiefs. Well, okay. So the Chargers still have to play the Broncos and the Chiefs. The Texans still have to play the Colts twice. They have another game against Jacksonville, and they play the Chiefs. Why am I saying all this? When you start looking at all their schedules, there is going to be some cannibalization going on where they're going to be knocking off each other. And that is why I'm really stuck on this 11 win mark that the Bills have to get to by hook or by crook. Win 4, it doesn't matter really who it's against. One of them should be a layup against the Jets. So find a way to go 3-2 in the non-Jets games. I mean, can you imagine a scenario, Luka, where the Bills go 3-2 and the last game at Highmark, they lose to Tyrod to not make the playoffs? I mean,
that just gave me like flashbacks to when the Bills with Tyrod beat Ryan Fitzpatrick for them to miss the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, the ultimate worst game in the history of the stadium to close it out. Let's just not do that.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we've done a good job of kind of painting the playoff picture. I do want to have a little bit of a Bills chat. That's our name. Here about the team. What has to change in your mind between now and the playoffs? That's realistic for you to really feel like this is a team that can go on a run, recognizing that we both have said now probably 10 times since the Texans game ended, if Josh Allen plays perfect, they got a shot. But what has to change for them to be able to go on a run, recognizing that the reality is during a 4-game playoff stretch, you're probably going to have to survive a B-plus game from your quarterback? What realistically can change, and how likely is it that you see it changing?
This team needs to realize who the hell they are in-house. And what I mean by that is they need to okay, for a second, sorry, Baker was just down motionless, and I was like, did we just witness Baker Mayfield unfortunately die? So
He won't win comeback player of the year award. But
yeah. So how do I put this? The Bills have this weird thing going on psychologically in-house and stuff where, and you saw it even in the pressers after the Houston game. And I feel like we heard the same things a lot and stuff like that. I don't need them to be mentally tough, or at least perceived to be mentally tough, because the product on the field, as we talked about in our live on the cuff, off the cuff reaction, Josh, was I recognize, or I see out there, this is not a mentally tough team right now. They are fragile. They are broken in a large capacity all over the place. And that includes Josh Allen, for what it's worth. So from there, I want them, and what it feels like they need is to be serious and real with themselves, understand who they are and who they aren't, and from there address that accordingly. And what I would like to see is, hey, whatever you're trying to be, whatever offensively you are trying to achieve and perceive as the appropriate way to, let's say, control the game or operate in such a manner, proof is in the pudding. It ain't working. Let's try something else. Don't keep going down this same avenue of what you're trying, because you will get inconsistent results like we're seeing. Defensively, just recognize you're absolutely dog shit in elementary at defending the run. That you will help yourself abundance if you just recognize you have no idea what to do. So from there, try to make a correction on it, either to accept it for what it is and just absolutely be locked down at every other facet of the game, or just commit extra resources and time to reshuffle things to try to correct that problem. And then you'll worry about the deep pass game and all that other stuff later. Like, if you have to just truly load up boxes with a safety always in the box, and or you're going to true 4-3 personnel, and or you just do something else creatively where you're just blitzing a lot more on the regular, playing a lot more man press off of the blitz, whatever it is you feel like you need to do, you need to be realistic that the scheme of which you believe is achievable to do and get the results you want, it's not working. So I want this organization and this coaching staff to be very real with themselves and recognize what they are and what they aren't. And just from there, I believe corrections can be made. From there, I believe this team can honestly do something and maybe get the changes they need to move in a positive direction. Baker might actually be very hurt. I don't mean to end on that note, but that is what I want to see from this team.
Watching this game, Baker is definitely feeling it. I don't know what play you're talking about now, but like he's already been in the medical tent once. So, by the time you're listening to this, you'll know if he's got some kind of injury, but he's struggling. Here's what I think. And look, the first thing I'm going to say is going to sound absolutely ridiculous. The Bills are 4-1 in games that Joshua Palmer and Dalton Kincaid both play. What does that mean? Well, while Luka and I were kind of vocal and, the first ones to throw water on the fire of, hey, Joshua Palmer, I think he's the Bills' best receiver right now. That probably is more of an indictment on who the Bills are. But I think when you look at total package, as far as a guy who can get deep, a guy who can win against man, I think Joshua Palmer's open a lot, and I think Josh Allen just doesn't throw it to him for whatever reason, whether he doesn't get to him in the whether going through his progressions or he doesn't see him. That's a big thing for me. So getting Dalton Kincaid back and keeping him healthy is checklist item numero uno for me. Keeping Joshua Palmer healthy is probably number 2 on the entire offense. From there, and this is all realistic, I'm not even saying go out and sign Brandon Cooks. You could. I don't know what it would do, but you could. From there, I think it's time that this team stops everybody eats. And I know that's probably not going to be realistic, but I think at this point in time, it's pretty clear who the best weapons are on this team. Running back, it's James Cook. Ty Johnson is a fantastic weapon out of the backfield. Continue to utilize him even when Dalton Kincaid is back. Dalton Kincaid is the only matchup player they have on offense. Defenses know where he's at on every play. As long as he's healthy, he's going to command attention of the defense. To me, Joshua Palmer, Khalil Shakir, and yes, folks, Keon Coleman should be out there the majority of the snaps for the Bills at receiver. Keon Coleman is not an X. He shouldn't be playing X. I think he's somebody that should live in the slot, move around, find a way to get the ball in his hands. From there, Curtis Samuel or Elijah Moore. I do think Curtis Samuel is probably better. They have that role as the fourth receiver, speed, get deep, whatever. Curtis Samuel comes in for 3 plays. He's gone for 3 weeks. We know the drill with him. I'm not going to say that he has to stay healthy for things to stay on track, but those are the best receivers. All due respect to Tyrell Shavers. All love to him for this game against Tampa. Those are the 3 players that I want to see on the field the most, recognizing the limitations of Keon Coleman. Defensively, Max Harrison, we'll see how bad this concussion keeps him out. But I like this Bills defense if Max Harrison and Christian Benford are both healthy. Now, we've seen through Benford's career, that's no guarantee. And so far, Max Harrison has had 2 different injuries that have kept him out for games. I'm assuming he's going to miss for a concussion this week, but maybe the Thursday night aspect of that helps him out. Who knows? I think their safety play has been night and day better since Jordan Poyer came in for Taylor Rapp. It's been night and day better for Cole Bishop, and Jordan Poyer has really solidified that other spot. He is playing not like a washed up version of himself. And we laugh about going back to the 2021 Bills, but he's playing decently well. You can't be upset with it. To me, Taron Johnson is a liability out there. I would like to see them go with Cam Lewis. I don't think they will, but I don't think you're going to not win the Super Bowl because Taron Johnson's playing for you. So I think it's something they can get through. Now, this is where the conversation gets really difficult. Linebacker. The Bills right now are awful at linebacker, and it's because they are loyal to 2 players in Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano who are just not doing their job. It's not because of no desire. They're just not good enough right now. I do think Terrell Bernard's going to be out for a while. He had the cast on his arm to end the game, looked like a bicep injury. That's the best thing for him. He needs to get his leg right. He was running at about half speed, and I like Terrell Bernard, but a half-speed Terrell Bernard is not as good as Dorian Williams. It's not nearly as good as Shaq Thompson, and I don't think it's even as good as Joe Andreessen. Like, it's just more harm than good out there, and I think that the Bills are better off just playing Dorian Williams in a full-time role and just living with his weaknesses as a drop-back player, and I like what I've seen from Shaq Thompson. I think you can be okay at linebacker if Terrell Bernard gets healthier, or if you just commit to not playing him because he's not healthy. But playing the injured version of him is no good. And then defensive line, hopefully Joey Bosa gets the brace off of his wrist, because since that thing has come on, he's turned into Chris Kelsey. So can Joey Bosa get back to being the force that he was early in the season? I think so. Greg Rousseau, just be okay with the fact that he's a B+ player. He's never going to be an A+ player. I think this year he's probably been more of a B- player. And then on the defensive line, on the interior, I don't really know what to say. There's no door number 3. I don't want to see TJ Sanders play defensive end anymore. Sorry, Solomon, you can do that. Or who's the guy they signed this 2 weeks ago off the street? I can't remember his name now, but big guy.
I mean, Shaq Lawson's coming in for a workout.
That's not serious. That's not serious.
I think that might actually be serious. He's coming in for a workout tomorrow.
Anyway, I need TJ Sanders to be taking every professional rep at defensive tackle at this point in time. You trade up for this kid in April aggressively, identifying him as somebody your defense needs. I know there is Joe Fan out there that's ready to tell you how awful TJ Sanders is because he didn't look like Quinnen Williams in his first 5 games off the bus. But haven't we learned now with Cole Bishop, Terrell Bernard, hell, Dorian Williams in their first couple years, that you can't judge a rookie by his first handful of games? TJ Sanders might be the Bills' best opportunity to actually get better at defensive tackle right now, but let the kid play. I would be A-okay with seeing Walker and Sanders dominate the D-line reps going on, but I'm also afraid to death of Walker hitting a rookie wall. I'm bracing for it because he has played so many snaps, and he wasn't healthy coming into the year. He's got a history of back issues. I'm so worried about Walker hitting a rookie wall, but unfortunately, that's something this team cannot worry about. What does that all add up to? Do I think it's all going to happen? I sure don't. I don't think we're going to live in a world where Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Joshua Palmer are your 3 primary wide receivers. I think they will continue with everybody eats, but I do think Dalton Kincaid will be back, and I do think that this offense has a chance to be dangerous. It just may not be dangerous. Oh, by the way, when you go up against a team like the Texans and the Broncos, run the damn ball. You're really good at it. Maybe don't drop back 25, 30, 35 times and hope that your receivers can get open against elite corners while you're getting crushed in the backfield. That would be it too. All right, Luka. We're going to do a little bit shorter show tonight. The Bills didn't have a game today. We're kind of talking about the AFC. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? Or actually, any final thoughts before I kind of talk about what's coming this week with Thanksgiving and everything?
No, not really. I mean, I love just to go back to what we talked about before. For anyone that just wants a little bit of reinforcement, the Jags play the Colts twice. The Texans play the Colts twice. The Texans play the Chiefs still. The Jags have to play at Denver still. Like, if you feel like it's only up to the Bills to win as many games as possible, buckle TF up. Just to get a little. I'm not trying to swear too much here. These teams, like the Jags, where Jacoby Brissett heroics fallen short away from losing in Arizona. The Patriots, for what it's worth, not that we're really in the division race anymore, they still do have, some tougher games potentially when it comes to the Bills and Ravens, but we'll see what happens there. The Chargers also, who I did not mention, they have to play the Eagles. They go to the Chiefs still. I mean, the Cowboys can basically shoot with anyone when it comes to scoring points. There is a lot of football to be played. It is not the sky is falling time. Teams can be got. Teams can go on runs. It is November still. We are trying to play football in January. There's a long time until then. Deep breaths, goose fraba, everything's okay. Did you look up the Shaq Lawson stuff?
I sure did.
I don't know how much it is, but yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of smoke to it, Josh.
I am going to look up something really quickly. At this point in time, if that's what it takes to get TJ Sanders back to playing defensive tackle,
there you go.
Then whatever.
Start compensating for it. Just rationalize it. Just accept.
Like, this
people need to slot. Thing. They got to slot back where they are, right, Josh? We can't be mishmashing everything all over the place.
So the Bills practice squad will include Nick Broker's back. Apparently, I didn't even realize Nick Broker was back. Let's see. We have Balin Spector. Yep. Gabe Davis was signed to the active roster. Anyway, this is depressing. The name I was looking for was Morgan Fox.
Yeah.
That's the guy that I was thinking. Okay. First of all, this week, the Bills have a game at 4:25 next week against the Steelers. Right now, we can't say for certain that we're going to have a show on Wednesday, a live show. We hope to, I think if you're smart enough, you can kind of figure out maybe what's going on with one of us, but read the tea leaves. We don't really know the schedule right now for one of us. We're as Sean McDermott would say, we're taking it day by day.
Yeah.
So we'll let you know Wednesday, but I'll also say with it being Thanksgiving, I have plans Wednesday night. So even if we do a show on Wednesday, it would be probably pre-recorded, or it would be one of those, hey, it's 2:00 in the afternoon and Josh and Luka are alive. But then coming up for next week, I will be live at halftime for Bills Steelers. Please, Bills, please give me a happy halftime. And then we will be pumping out a Bills Chat post-game show. What that looks like, we don't know yet, but we will be having it. But for all of you, we have hit 500 subs on YouTube. Yeah. We appreciate you. And we just wanted to say, I hope you all have a great, happy Thanksgiving. It is the season, the holiday season. I say that I don't feel like I say this enough, but for those of you that are listening, you never know what somebody else is going through. You never know what's going on in their mind. I had a situation where I was driving earlier and I got into the lane in front of somebody and he took it real personal and he blared his horn at me and drove right past me. And every instinct in me wanted to do the thing where I wave to him with one finger and get into a shouting match. And I just went like, goose fraba. It's not worth it. You don't know what he's dealing with. For all you know, he could have just left the hospital and has somebody really important. You never know. Be kind to people. There's a lot of craziness going on in this world. All you have to do is log into Twitter for 5 minutes and you can see that. But just be kind. Enjoy your family for the holidays. And Luka, hope this is I don't know. What do I want to say here? I hope this is not the last time we're chatting on Bill's Chat Podcast for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we will see. We will see. My schedule could get pretty chaotic real quick for the short term, but no, we'll see what happens. It's not like I'm just not going to be paying attention all of a sudden or falling off the face of the earth. But no, fun times ahead for myself. But we will I love the anticipation of everything going on. I will say that the anxiety is all excitement driven. So it's a fun time. It's a fun time.
Find out who you get with your first pick. All right. For Luka, I am Josh McCarty. We will talk to you next week on Bills Chat.